Hello. Welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to the Age of Sigmar Monday show, or some people call it the Nathan Prescott show. I'm joined by my co-host today, Mr. Nathan Prescott and James I don't think any of us feel. Do you want to just stop? Should we just not? Should we just fucking go home? I'm joined by Nathan and James.
I'm already at
yeah. That's true. Hey,
I'm already saying I'm happy. I've got a paintbrush.
Hello.
I could sing the Nathan theme tune. That might help.
Could you sing us the Nathan theme tune? That'll start us off right today. Go for it.
Yeah. Should we just
hold on.
again?
Let me recut us back in. Twitch chat, what up? Love you forever. Let's cut us back in. Let's do this. Go.
Come on and join the laughter. Let's all just have some fun. And here he is again with that random kid called Rob. So here we are on the show on a Monday night. We're not sure who this guy is, but it's a Nathan Prescott.
Woohoo! All right, okay. Now
enough.
I'm feeling it. Let's go.
Enough.
Let's go, Twitch chat. Thanks everyone for resubscribing. Mr. Tiga, Flukesy, Jog. What's going on? Thanks for being here. Nurgle Matthew, what's happening? The aforementioned Nathan Prescott, what is happening with you, baby?
Not a lot hobby-wise, I'm afraid. I have been busy doing some stuff. Oh, I've finished painted my skull boss on Spider over there. I can see him, and I've got a test cruel boy gut ripper that I'm about halfway through.
Are you doing a test painting thing model? That's the words.
Well, yeah. I'll just paint one up and see what it looks like, and then just carry on, even if it doesn't look great. Basically, it's going to be the same color scheme as all my angels, because they'll end up all in the same army, pretty much. So, just making sure I like it before I do it.
Is it a test model if whatever it looks like, you're going to just do them all the same?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to paint one, because I like them. And I thought, well, if I paint one, then I'd be like, oh, that looks nice. And then that looks like how I want it to look. And then I'll just carry on. I've painted one.
Okay, just to test James's theory and I think the Twitch's theory at this point. If you didn't like how it looked, which is already like the army you've already painted and like how it looks, what would you do?
Yeah. Change my mind and make sure I like it. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like
liking something's very subjective, isn't it? You can change what you like and what you don't like.
You can, but this is all Nathan. This is you. You don't have to force yourself to like it if you don't like it.
I'm not going to force myself. I don't think I could force myself. I'd have to wangle another way. Maybe some bribery or something like that. There's other ways you can make somebody change their mind, not just force. I'm not going to torture myself until I like it, that's for sure. I'll just use some other method.
Am I mental? Does any of this James, does this make sense to you?
Yes. Yeah.
It makes no sense. But half of the things that Nathan says when he talks about a hobby don't make sense to me. And then I watch him play and I'm like, oh, that made sense. I'm not sure how this one ever makes sense, because I'd be really excited to just see him be like, painted this test module. Hated it. Gonna do 47 now the same. That's my Nathan. That was my Nathan impression.
It's a good one. Right, let's start the show properly. We're joined by James, obviously. Thanks to Moon Tyranid for resubscribing. Crazy Horse for donating 5 gift subscriptions. I see some legends in the chat. T-Man Cash, Halalex, big love to you. I am T Jones, Stabgrot Plus. What's going on? The Hobby Room. Thanks for being here. Is that Ben or is that Kerry? Either one. Thanks for being here. It's lovely to see you. Guy Zaidi, yes. Thanks for resubscribing. Honest Wargamer Plus coming soon from Lex. Kerry, hey Kerry, hope you're well. And hi, some Norwegian dude. Today's show is 8 minutes in. I'll tell you what it's about. It's going to be about the White Dwarf update. The White Dwarf update to the Sons of Behemat. No, it's an update to the Sons of Behemat, right? And
you said it.
And before that, there's going to be some community news. And we might talk about the Super Series event that we had at the weekend, if that's cool with everyone else. as well as my experiences.
Ah,
Yeah,
cool.
my experiences of our
Yeah.
Hammerstorm event we had yesterday. So that's what we might cover. Before we get... James, what's going on with you? Can we do a special shout out at the start of the show to James's girlfriend Meg, because it was her birthday?
Yeah, so oh no, you've thrown me. What am I doing? I'm painting annihilators because I'm that person now.
Have you done test models?
Yeah, I did a test model, and I was like, oh, do I like this model? And then I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this model, but I'll just paint all the others the same.
Right.
You just need to convince yourself that you like it, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah. Apparently so. That's how that works
Nathan,
now.
you would be the best YouTube content creator.
Yeah,
it would be so good. The clickbait articles would be amazing. It's like, get every test model right first time, and it would just be you being like, if you don't like it, just tell yourself you do. 1 minute video, 1 minute cheating videos from Nathan. I'm in. That's great.
Yeah.
I still don't get the concept, but still. So yeah, I think that's about all the hobby. Oh, I tried to play a Beast of Chaos lists last week because I decided that they'd been sat in the loft for like 2 years, maybe. So I tried to do that. Thought it would be funny to see what 4 Gargants did. Thought it would just be really easy to play. I'd push it all forward, hope it went well, and see what happened. It didn't play as easy as I thought, and actually was more complicated than I could be bothered with. So they're currently back in semi-retirement for now.
So,
and that's about it.
James,
really,
we had a Beast of Chaos player here at the weekend, yeah, who I've never met before, John. John, if you're listening to the show, big shout out to you. Big fella, yeah, fucking big fella, big jaw. He was like, all right, mate. He's like, all right, yeah, all right, yeah. He's like, I'm a fireman. I'm like, fucking tell, Jesus Christ. He was playing. He brought a pure Beast of Chaos army, 4 Gargants, James, yeah, loads of bull cores, yeah.
Nice.
Got absolutely fucking walloped for 3 games. You had to play Owen's Petrifex Nagash round 1.
Yeah.
And Owen was the whole time was like, I'm so sorry about this.
Lovely.
Yeah. How was it? Was the Beast not that good?
I think there's probably some gimmicks in there. Like, so what was I running? So there was 4 Gargants. They're kind of fun. 20 Bestigor, 20 Bestigor, 20 Bestigor. What else was in there? And then 3 Shamans, standard, like Beast Shamans, and 1 Beast Lord. I think that was everything. I think that's 1,000 points.
And it went badly.
2,000 points. So I think that was everything. It didn't go badly. So I played Nick Thompson. I had a game against him. He was playing his Living City, which I think he also played the weekend.
He played here, yeah.
Where you are on at the.
Well, so
yeah. So he played that. So.
No, you carry on.
Carry on.
No, you. You.
So yeah, so he played that. I played Beast of Chaos. You're just trying to confuse me. And yeah, so I think we got to about turn 4, and I basically had to make a summon, kill a hero. It got hard. On turn 4, it got hard. But the Bestigors perform really well. Like the rerolls against Order were good. The +1 to hit on the charge is really good now, because it's so hard to get from anywhere else, and they just do it. It's just built into their war scroll. But it was the first time I think I'd run a big blob of 32s, and you realise that it's kind of awful. So all those Bestigors are on 32s. I'm running them in 20s. Most times in combat, I might get 10 in, if I'm lucky.
Okay, yeah.
Because of the new cohesion rules, it's just so hard, and they're 1-inch range, so that makes it really bad. So they perform really well. They're 4 up save. They can make themselves 3 up save. There's some really good stuff to it. but the cohesion rules just make them not as hitty as they should be or used to be. So yeah, that was hard.
Okay.
So yeah, so now I'm
Yeah, because you're going to take the Annihilator list to your at the Justice Series GT this weekend.
Yeah, a little variation of that list, based on like what I own, what's painted, and some other bits that I learned when I came down to the venue and played last. So I had, I think, one of my most fun things I've done in this version of Warhammer is that basically when I came and played the last time at the T Sports, which was singles, I brought Andrasna.
Yep.
Or Indrasna,
Yeah.
or however you want to say her name. Her. And with her 3 guard, and each game I moved her into the middle of the board and saw how long she'd live.
Okay, and how did it go?
And I think, yeah, really good. So in game 1, she fought against Math Mallow, fought for several turns, and then finally was my secondary, so legged it. No, my primary, sorry, my grand strategy. So she legged it. Then who did she play? Then I put her just in the middle of the board, and 10 brutes charged her. She fought them for like 3.5 turns, didn't die, killed them all, and then a Maw Crusher charged her, and she died really fast. Who else? And then what did she do? Oh, and then game 3 she fought a load of Seraphon and lasted for hours. If not the whole game.
Sorry, James, not to interrupt you, but thanks to Crazy Horse for donating 58 quid to the show. You guys might see a little donation bar in the middle of the screen. We did, when I get onto it after James is finished, or finished talking to James, we did event coverage at the weekend, and we're going to be covering. And yeah, we're trying to raise more money for more cameras, basically, so we can get some better top-down cameras and some better swivel cameras, which are these big expensive cameras called PTZ. So a huge thank you to Crazy Horse for kicking us off on that little front. That's a nice start. So very fucking kind of you. Appreciate you. Excited to hear your thoughts about your time at NashCon this weekend. So James, you're hyped for the weekend? You're gonna play at the Just Play series. There's gonna be a lot of comp gamers. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, fine. I'm going to sit at the bottom. I'm going to sit at the bottom and enjoy the bottom tables. There's some very lovely people going. So I had a look at the list, and I thought, I don't want to play him. But it'd be nice to see him. And then I don't really want to play him, but it'd be nice to see him too. So I think I'll have a really nice time, probably sitting at the bottom, probably getting absolutely smashed, but enjoying being there.
I think Nathan was smashing a lot of bottom at the weekend. That's a whole different event, I think. But I can't be certain. Thanks to Kerry from the Hobby Room saying bottom tables are the best tables. Well, let me talk about the event that we had this weekend. And thanks to Bobbin for donating 20 quid to the show. Appreciate you. Oh, let me just answer a question from Rancone in the chat. Hey Rob, how does Amazon Prime work with Twitch? It's something about me linking my account and then being able to sub for free with my favourite Warhammer streamer. Yes. There's something you can do, but I've never done it, so I'm saving it for Warhammer Plus.
Do you want me to finish? You basically can link your account, and then each month you get 1 free subscription to any one channel, and that's how it works. And you also, if you play games, which is the other big thing, is you get loads of free stuff for games. So League's probably the biggest, most notable one. But you get like a free skin shard every month. And I think they've been doing it for like 2 years.
Question, Nathan, what do you tend to use your Amazon Prime sub on? Like which game? Skin shards? Where you at? What do you generally tend to use them for? All right, we're in. Okay, let's start the show. Thanks, guys, Andy, for donating £10. I'm feeling it now. I'm getting it. Okay, we've answered that question. So at the weekend, I'm going to quickly talk about this at the weekend. We had 2 events here at the TSN Arena. two events. We had the Super Series, which was the 6 versus 6 team format, Dragon Slayers versus the South London Legion, and then we had a Hammerstorm event, which was yesterday, which was taken out by our man Owen Jackson. But we had a bunch of new people, which was just amazing yesterday, which I think was like kind of one of the highlights. It was just really fun having them here, and the atmosphere was pretty great. But the Dragon Slayers versus South London Legions was a pretty interesting matchup, because I don't know if you two know the result. I know, Nathan, you were away at the weekend, but did you guys have like a favourite like team going into it? Either of you? Nathan, what were your thoughts?
Just off the bat, obviously, Dragon Slayers, they're closer to home, but I hadn't really... I'd had a quick look through the lists, and there were some interesting ones on both sides. Some of them I wasn't quite sure on the tech, like what the... Like if there was a plan, or if they were just taking them, just because they persuaded themselves they like them. Well, I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, I'm quite kind of interested to see how they went. Yeah, there were a couple of Kragnoses, a couple of Archeons.
They let the whole side down. They were not the Archeon. Yes, the Kragnos. The Kragnos was a Kragnot. I feel like I got that. I know I'm not the funniest person in the world, but I'm trying. Let me tell you, I'm trying really hard to be funny nowadays. Thanks, Bobbin, for watching.
That's
and
funny.
AD Mac, who is in the chat right now, said he's just resubscribed, so thank you very much to you. So it was interesting, right? Because you've kind of got, like, in my opinion, like the creme de la creme down from the South London Legion. You got a ton of, like, very studious, thoughtful players in the South London Legion, and the lists. When we did the list review show on Friday, it did seem like, in my opinion, they'd put a more structured team composition together. Like, they had a theme. They had like some pretty like stringent battle line, so like some like strong battle line, so that like you probably weren't going to get broken flags, or you might not get broken flags. Their generals were hard to kill generally. Was that?
Oh,
maybe, who knows? I'm trying hard to be funny, James. Yeah, I'm really self-conscious about it now.
I'll put on a good laugh for you.
We've got the
That's
laugh
funny.
track if we need it. And anyway, so it looked like they had like this full team composition. However, problematically, the Dragon Slayers list were chaotic, as you would expect, because generally they're a chaotic group as is anyway. But to cut to the end of the story quickly, it was a romper stomper to the Dragon Slayers, like 225 to 135 in tournament points over the course of it. And just so many things to take away from that particular match that I found so interesting. So I'll just kind of give you my highlights. I've touched on them a little bit today. Number one, is AD Mac a genius? That's my number one. Yeah, because I don't know what he's ever doing with his army. So if you guys don't know, AD Mac is one of the organisers for Sheffield Slaughter. But he was running that like very unique triple Khorne Demon Prince list with Be'lakor, the Marauders, and a War Shrine and a Blood Secretor of all fucking things. But just like he brought his Super Series before. And Nathan, I know you've looked at one of those games, or we've done coverage on one of those games at least. And James, I know you've been around for that as well. Like, AD just like plays Warhammer I don't see many people play at all, which kind of like led me onto a thought process of like I think that there are so many styles of play that we don't even really see or understand yet, and I think AD's is one of them. Go on.
Isn't it because he's playing Ninth Age, but doesn't realise it's a different game?
AD, this isn't the old world. He's like, 4 Demon Princes are great, man. Yeah.
Have you ever tried to wield a Demon Prince? It's so easy. They're on a single base. Reform for
Yeah,
free.
just wheeling about. I tell you what, I'm excited about that old world, though. The map, gorgeous. Well done. Well designed, that map, is what I think. Really, really well put together. Yeah.
On a serious note, just because you talked about it, and I think it's quite interesting, like, big love for AD Mac as much as I bully him every time I see him everywhere I go, all the time, every day. But it must be really interesting because obviously one of the things he also does now is writes his own game system, which is like crazy little tiny models and Napoleon and stuff. But it must be really interesting, I think, to then come back to a game that he's played for years, because maybe he sees it differently. I know he's in the chat. Maybe at some point he'll talk about it. But it'd be interesting to know whether he sees Sigmar differently because he sees things we don't, based on writing rules and stuff.
Not only plays them but makes them. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true. I think that's an interesting take. It's very fascinating to watch him play. He plays as we all know, I'm a very cagey player, and so he just plays like a very aggro style, which kind of blows my mind. And it's just something I wanted to bring up because it was fun watching a load of people play over the weekend. And some of the play style, like Fabian, for instance, his list plays the way it plays, so he doesn't. You don't really pick up a style from that, if that makes sense. Or maybe I've just watched a lot of AD play, so it just becomes one of those things where you just like every move is just something maybe I wouldn't have thought of. And I do a lot of coverage, right? I'm like, oh, he's probably going to do this, probably going to do that. But honestly, his list is so disarming that I have no clue, which I think feeds into kind of a grander theme with armies in general, and probably is going to feed into the conversation we'll have today about megagargants, because they don't play differently to how you ever expect. They play exactly what you think. They're like, if you play megagargants, you're going to walk forward onto an objective, and then your opponent's going to be like, I wonder if I can kill you. That's all you're going to do. It doesn't matter who plays them. There's going to be no different style. But amazing watching AD play. So that was one of my takeaways from the weekend, and it got me thinking about different play styles and generally sort of player skill and how much it might be effective in Age of Sigmar 3. And then following on from that, one of my other takeaways from the weekend, well, I've got a few, so the last one doesn't need tons of discussion, and it's just that, again, and not that anyone in the South London Legion isn't a brilliant Warhammer player. Leo played; he's a great player. There's some brilliant Warhammer played by the South London Legion. But Andy Hughes, when does Andy Hughes not win most of his game? The man must have an 80% win rate at Warhammer. He's either 4-1 or 5-0 in any tournament I can think back on. And maybe he's lost.
No.
I know he's a dick. But, yeah, he's brilliant. Yeah, right? He's brilliant.
He is, unless it's day 2 and he's been barred from the bar the day before.
Unless it's that.
Then not so good.
Unless it's that. And it just got me to thinking about different play styles and how people play and getting reps in. And I think that was one of my big takeaways from the weekend, because I know the Dragon Slayers play a lot as a group, and I know the South London Legion guys do as well. But they've been kind of trapped at home in London with restrictions and stuff over the past year, and I think the Dragon Slayers have been able to get a few more reps in, basically, and so I put a lot down to that. But those are two of my big takeaways. Player skill was really on show in some matches. That's not to say other people weren't playing great games; they were, but those two kind of, out of the 12 people playing, those two really significantly stood out to me, and have consistently stood out to me, which I think is quite interesting, because the more you see people play, I really want to watch Bill Sousa play Warhammer. I've never got to see him play Warhammer, and so he's an American who, Nath, just for you, he won an event, 98-player event today with flesheatercourts and an allied in Gatebreaker.
Good, that's great. He's a great guy. Yeah. I've been to the bottle store with him.
You've been to the bottle store with him? Yeah, you have, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. So yeah, I've not seen him play, but yeah, obviously his results speak for themselves. He's always
which kind of
just out of interest, Nathan.
Sorry,
you go first, James, and then I'll finish my point off.
Is the you going to the bottle store with Bill Sousa video on your OnlyFans or not?
No, I don't take videos.
Okay, just checking. Sorry, carry on, Rob.
None of that stuff.
Yeah. So my question is, my follow up is because then I tweeted about it, right? Because I tweeted about AD and Andy, and I just said, look, these guys are great at Warhammer. I loved it, and I wanted to big them up because I thought it was really important. It kind of made me think. One of the things that we don't do enough, I think, as a community. That's one of my takeaways. Is just big up each other on Twitter. We're always nice to each other on Twitter, or we're not. Talking about
that definitely should have come with a disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer, or we're not.
possibly never.
Well, what I
sometimes
more wanted
maybe,
to
on a Tuesday.
what I more wanted to say was maybe we should try that a little bit more, especially with players who we think like are pretty solid. Like, and I was going to ask you two, who are your favorite like people to watch play Warhammer, or like, oh, maybe you don't watch anyone. Maybe that's just a very unique to me thing.
I can give
Tell
you
me,
mine
tell
without
me.
even thinking about it. My favourite player, who I think is probably one of the best players I've ever watched ever play Warhammer, is James Boots. And no one will
Why?
probably
Why?
know
Tell
who
me
he is.
about it. Tell me about it. Here, give me the big up.
Uh,
Yeah.
So he comes to Scribes, and he just plays like incredible games of Warhammer. So I think at which event did we go to? Maybe Bloodshed in the Shire. And I think on like the last game he was on table 6, and he got like a Khorne Bulgor list with only Bulgors and one hero. And so like every time I watch him play, he plays like the jankiest lists with the dumbest setup because he just loves playing Warhammer, and then still always plays amazing. So like last year in my garden, he brought a Clan Eshin only
Right.
list, and then like went to the effort of making sure that all of the models were actually the Eshin ones, and the Screaming Bell was the original Screaming Bell, and like, but like he didn't win many games, but he sees things that I don't, I think, and he plays in a style that I think is really hard to follow. And he's one of those people, if you're playing him, like probably friendly. I don't think we've ever played at an event, but you'll do something and he'll be like, "Can I ask why you did that? Because I would have done da 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 da," and you talk it through. And he's really interesting. He sees things that I haven't seen, or things before I haven't seen them, or just moves that I don't think are even possible. And so I think that would be really interesting. Because as well, I also think it'd be really fun for once just to go, here is a really good army, and watch him play, instead of like something that doesn't really work, which is what he normally seems
That's
to
interesting.
build.
Hyrad in the chat says James Boot is great. I played him at Sheffield sort of 19 and he ran a Spider Grot army. Pete says, I love watching Archie play. It's like watching a game of Buckaroo and waiting for it to all fall apart, which is very funny. And if you guys don't know who Archie is such a funny Warhammer player that he's got his own emote in the chat that you can use for your sad face Archies whenever everything goes wrong. Nathan, have you got anyone like that you enjoy watching play Warhammer?
I'm trying to think of games that I've enjoyed watching. One of the first games, like that I can think of, when I watched one of the guys that was at the weekend, Nico, playing against who is he playing in? I can't remember who he was playing against, but it was at the Clash of Swords. Yeah, I enjoyed watching that. That was Skaven. It was just the way he was invested in his army, but then, when things went wrong, he was very, very, it just went straight over his head. He didn't let it get to him, whereas some people get really start getting upset and start blaming the dice and all of this. He just accepted it as how it came to him. So I just liked the way he dealt with the game. His plans were really good and everything, and the way he set it up and explained it to his opponent. But then, the way he accepted the way that the game went, and what the dice did to him, I thought that was really good. One of the other guys I really like watching play is I don't know. I've watched Darren play. I've
An interruption.
Oh.
I think it's fine. That's good news for us all. Okay. Right, so I don't know what it's about Monday night. Rest of the week, no dramas. Monday night. So what's funny is our tier video, we did the other week. Yeah, people were desperate to watch that. They were like, oh my God, this is... Because that's like great clickbait content. Like, people fucking fawn over that. If you do a tier video, people are like fucking rubbing themselves ready to watch a tier video. They're like, oh my God, I'm so excited. And the first hour and a half of that is just Nathan trying to reconnect to the chat. Yeah, the amount of negative comments The amount of negative
forgot
comments we
that.
have on that video is through the roof. It's very funny. Anyway, so I just thought it might be a good opportunity for us all to talk to and or about the players who we love. And maybe big them up on social media or Twitter or something else and send them a message, because that's something that kind of struck me from the weekend. A couple of other things that struck me from the weekend is I think 2 hours 45 is probably not long enough to play a game of Age of Sigmar 3. Ultimately, I think
Okay.
I think
So what
maybe
do you think?
3 hour rounds or 1,500 points. Now, no one's ever going to play 1,500 points because James, do you want to play a 1,500 point match? Why?
No. I just think like the problem is, isn't it? Realistically, the game's designed
It's
for
not designed for
2,000
anything,
points.
mate. Like absolute nonsense. There is
Well.
zero way that they like. At what point were they like, yeah, this is what we meant at 2,000 points? Come on, fucking rein it in, son. Like absolutely wind your neck all the way in from that statement. Yeah.
Well, the list writing is, isn't it? The way
Yeah.
the battalions work and the in the little tables and stuff like that.
Also, I've
There's
just changed back
1,000 and
size.
2,000.
I want to change again.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, sure. They're designed for whatever you think that they might be designed for. So there's that. But I think most importantly, people just want to put all their toys on the board, right? That seems to be the general consensus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the more toys you have, the more people are
basically.
happy.
So then I think you've got to say they need to be 3 hour rounds, basically. Yeah, or you're going to need to play with chess clocks. Nathan, you've played in a tournament or two now. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, obviously I would like a little bit more time. I'm always there at the end playing games. Yeah, I mean, I don't see it being a problem, really. Obviously, the people that still finish earlier are just going to have a longer break. Yeah. If they can fit it into the day, then yeah, 3 hour rounds, take a bit of pressure off, would be better.
Yeah, I think three hour 3 hour rounds would be good.
Yeah.
And my reasoning for that is I don't really know what is slowing people down. Like, if that makes sense, I don't know. Like watching different games at the weekend, like yes, the Gargants versus Maw Crushers were maybe a faster game than your regular army, but like your regular army should just be able to play, and it's not like anyone at the weekend was slow. Like everyone who was there at the weekend is a pretty competent gamer, and if they're struggling to finish games, and I think that's true of events that I've seen generally. Although actually, that said, games pretty much finished yesterday, I would say. But I don't know. I think the game could.
Do you think?
Go on.
Do you think most Age of Sigmar 2 games finished in 2 hours and 45 though?
No.
Or do you think people just talk those through as well?
I think so. You have to play to the end of Age of Sigmar 3, where you didn't have to play to the end of Age of Sigmar 2, right?
Yep.
And so because of that, I think that's the reason we're not seeing games finish, because you can't just be like, cool, I'm not going to win this, I can't get the points back now, so we'll just call it. Because normally by turn 3, unless like the priority's gone super bad or the game's gone super bad, there's still probably just only a few points. Like a few points in it, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah. I was just asking the question.
yeah.
Yeah, with the scoring, it's a lot tighter normally, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I guess so.
But I'd be interested to know everyone else's feedback. If you've been at some tournaments you think they don't tend to be finishing, let us know. Pete says people need to spend more time thinking about deployments for different battle plans and matchups before they even get to the event, so they can make decisions quicker pre-game. I think I agree with that as well. Shelf Loathing says I would play 1,500 points happily. Finishing earlier is not a problem for me, and if people consistently finish faster, that gives time for 4 rounds in a day. I think the reason I bring it up is because I just bring it up because that's some kind of feedback I think I have about Age of Sigmar 3 generally now. I think I've played it enough and I've watched it enough that I'm not 100% certain that 2 hours 45 is comfortable, especially if you're playing casually, right? Like James, you're like, I'm going to be a mid-table gamer this weekend. I'm just going to have a laugh, drink some beers and have some fun. Yeah, I personally think that you should be the benchmark for if we finish games in 2:45, not...
Yeah. my games of Sigmar in my house since 3 have come out have been like maybe 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, but it's different when you're playing with your mates, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also think like there's some food and there's some drinks, but like if I want to stop, like my Warhammer table is basically my downstairs, which is one big open space. So like if I stop to grab a drink, I literally like walk away from the table, walk the other side, pick up a can, sorted. Like at an event, I have to stop. I have to go to a bar unless there's table service, which is rare. So I think like actually there's so many things at an event that slow it down anyway. Like someone's mate come over, says hello, and I think like when we go back, I know none have really happened, and it'll be interesting. Like next week maybe I'll talk about it. But the event on Saturday I'm going to, I think, is about 30 odd players, maybe 40. And it'll be really interesting to kind of go back to that because I think people will just be really excited to see each other. So I imagine that actually that might slow a load of games down too.
I guess so. Also, people are just getting back into the edition after a big long lockdown. It's a new edition. There's a bunch of reasons. Maybe it will speed up. Maybe that's not an issue. I just thought I'd bring it up as one of my pieces of feedback. Nathan, you got any thoughts on it?
Well, I think it definitely feels like it takes longer because every battle round you've got every turn you've got a whole set of decisions you've got to make regarding battle tactics and all of that stuff. And I think I've struggled with that a little bit. Like, which one do I do? And then I'm standing there, and then the pressure's like, I'm taking too long to decide this, and then that makes the decision harder. So, yeah, I think it does take longer, and probably, I think I've mentioned it before. I think it's a game that you need to be playing fairly regularly if you want to be quick and smooth with it, more so than previous editions, really. It's not a game that you can play, I'll just play this once a month or once every 2 months and then just turn up at a tournament and I'll be, being able to smash through games really fast. If you're coming up to a tournament, you probably want to get several games under your belt in closer to the tournament so that you can be a bit more adept at making decisions, really, and all of that.
True, and
it's worrying me that
another good point being made in the chat is plus the damn app doesn't work anymore, isn't up to date, so it takes longer to make sure about your rules, which is also true. That's also a thing. I don't know. I don't think the players are slow. I think the game might be functionally fairly slow. But my other feedback is that the game is incredibly fucking fun. Like, this edition is just like a laugh. Like, it's just really, really, really funny. Like, I mean, also heartbreaking, like, you've decided to do that battle tactic and you don't kill the thing by 1 wound. Yeah, like, we watched one of our matches on Saturday, like, a Bade was trying to kill AD Max. Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Manticore, and he'd thrown Severin at it, he'd thrown Sentinels at it, he'd thrown everything at it, and like it just ends up being on this 1 wound, and you stood there like there's nothing left, and you want to try and throw the kitchen sink at it, and it's nothing. So it goes from like this moment of like, elation on one side and heartbreak on the other, but such a good kind of emotional roller coaster for a game between 2 people to be. I think that is. I think it's just a really brilliant game. Is one of my other pieces of feedback, and then my last piece of feedback, I think, is that from these 2 events, is that the differential scoring system is 100% the only way I want to play. Like, no disrespect to any of the TOs who are doing other stuff. You're just doing it wrong. Like, not to be rude, yeah. Like, you're just not encouraging people to have as much fun, and it's so funny. Going up to it, not funny, but you can really like smooth an ego over. You walk up to a table and you're like, how'd it go? They're like, lost. You're like, but what was the score? And then they're like, it's this and that. And you're like, well, that's only a 12-8. And they're like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah. And then the other guy's like, basically a draw, really, mate. And he's like, yeah. It's like, you mark it down as a win, but it's only like 4. It doesn't feel like much. In that case, and most of the games from the weekend, I did some stats on this actually, most of the games from the weekend were rarely 20-0. Generally, you tended to float around like the 12 to 14 bracket as as kind of like that was your winning kind of like top end. With rarely did you get 20s, rarely did you get 19s. But like I don't know why you're not encouraging people who are not going to win to have more fun, which is what the differential scoring system does. Do you know what I mean? And it's not my system, it's just the system, I think. And I think it's so much more fun. Because even when you're seeing people lose, they're like, I'm not letting you have a damn rat point. Like, round 5, they're like, you're not getting this fucking... Like, you're not getting this secondary, fuck you. And it stops people, like... it just stops people, like, giving up halfway. Do you know what I mean? And trying to pull points back.
Well, I think it makes a game... I think the other thing, like we talked about it, I know a minute ago, but like you could end a game of Sigmar on turn 2.0 on turn 3 if you like lost half your army. Whereas I think like the game I had against Mathmallow, I basically used the prime to drop round, kill his general, and then basically died, which I knew was going to happen. But then I had to keep my general alive. So like my last 2 turns was just running Andrasna away, like into a corner and hiding her behind a building. But it made it funny. And it also made it worthwhile playing 2 turns because I was like, oh, the run roll matters here. Because if I get her behind this building, then like you can't get her, you can't see her, you can't get to her, and she's gone. And so I think it gives you another reason to keep playing.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's really useful. And so if you guys are listening and if you've got any sway with your local TOs or you are a TO yourself, please do just give it a try. Even if you think I'm a giant dick, just be like, do you know what? Like, give it a try because like it's super worthwhile for all the people playing, in my opinion. And I think more and more people should adopt it as the system. I would like it to become the system because no one showed me anything that's remotely close to makes any more fucking... In fact, everything else is more confusing, in my opinion. Someone's like, okay, this one's going to count... Battle tactics is going to count as 2 things. You're like, mate, I'm barely holding on. I've remembered what all-out defense is. Give me a moment. Yeah, like, without it all changing. But I guess if the community's all going to do different comp systems, then everyone's going to have to fucking butt their ideas up and learn a billion things anyway. So maybe it doesn't matter about a universal system. Who knows? You got any thoughts on it, Nath?
No, I'm used to your system. I've not really seen the other ones. And yeah, your system works, so I'm happy with that. That's how it used to be in 8th edition.
Yeah,
we were happy with it then. We've had win, loss, draw most of the time since then.
And it's still win, loss, draw, right? It's just the secondary. Yeah, I'm not advocating for it being like the primary scoring system yet. But it's a good system anyway, is what I'm saying. So those are my experiences from the weekend. Sorry if that was I hope that wasn't too long. But basically, a lot to take away from that. And also we had a bunch of new players as well, which was really lovely at the Hammerstorm event, which is just fun to have new players playing some Warhams, right? And turning up. So more of that, the better. And it's so good to have new players in this early in an edition, making waves and doing really well. So yeah, a fun weekend for me, and still loads to learn about Age of Sigmar 3, which I think is exciting. So, on to the kind of the news section for the show, if you guys are okay with that. I'll try not to keep it too, there is none. Is maybe the key takeaway that there's no news. There obviously was a Games Workshop event this weekend, so we think maybe the FAQ will come out this week for the game. Like, so there was a outstanding FAQ. If anyone's like, oh, what's that FAQ? It's going to be on a ton of different things. Like, no one knows how pink horrors really work. No one really knows about 6s to hit versus 6s, that sort of thing. There's a bunch of different stuff. And if you're like out there like, I don't know these things, then it doesn't affect you and it's super okay. Like, maybe we'll see a Wildwoods update. But so we're waiting on the FAQ still, is something we're waiting for.
Have you not got your sign out yet?
No sign, not signed. They're going to get one more week before we get the sign out. What do you guys think?
Okay.
Is that long enough?
It's been a bit long, hasn't it?
What? For
this FAQ? It's been ages. It would be nice to have an app before the FAQ as well.
Well, we're not going to get the app, are we? Because the app's...
Has anyone loaded the app recently?
What, Azir? No, not Azir. The Age of Sigmar app?
Yeah.
No, why?
Because it now tells you it's going and they've cancelled your subscription and have fun on your way.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've just seen it. A new Warhammer Age of Sigmar app is on its way. Okay, you can download the new Warhammer Age of Sigmar app soon, Nathan. Don't worry.
Yep.
Yeah, soon. So it's on
Soon,
on the way. It's packed with exciting features and fresh functionality. Sign up for Warhammer Plus mailing list to stay up with the latest news. Has everyone signed up to the Warhammer Plus mailing list? Question mark.
No.
Why?
Because why do Games Workshop have like 92 mailing lists? Why can't they just have one? Like, do you know what? For the last 2 years, I've spent most of my email life, like, someone will be like, oh, do you remember us? Zavi, or whatever the hell they're called, that web. No, cancel that. So I've cancelled like loads. So every time now, Games Workshop are like, oh, made a new website, new game, new website, new mailing list. I'm like, just have one. Because you send it all from one anyway.
It's true.
So no.
It's true. You haven't signed up.
I'll just buy it when it's out if I decide to buy it.
Nathan, not part of that. Not getting involved.
No, I've signed up for the newsletter.
Yeah.
But I've had a few of the newsletters. There's no fucking news in them. It's just
Clip.
a load of waffle. Just hurry up with the friggin' app and stop writing letters to us and get us the sodding thing that we should have had a month, you bastard.
There's a bit of an issue though, in that they did say that the app was coming alongside Dominion, and then it didn't come alongside Dominion. Hey Buzzo, finally seeing my favourite podcast in the flesh. Powerful lads, thanks Buzzo. What's going on? This is what we look like. All 300 kilos of us as a group. Each.
Each.
So yeah, they did say the app was coming along with Dominion, and now they retconned it to say coming soon. So if I'm a betting man, and I don't know what I want to bet on this, so Nath, I don't know if you want a friendly wager. If I'm wrong, I'll play Gits in a tournament this year. How's that sound?
Yeah,
And then if you're wrong, you have to
what?
play Zinch this year.
Fuck that. Okay, what am I saying?
That's a good fucking Twitch chat. Everyone in the Twitch chat immediately like, I'm fucking invested now, Rob. Yeah, I am invested. The bet is that I don't think that there'll be an Age of Sigmar app out this year. So you've got ages on this. You've got ages. It's a pretty safe bet that I'm going to be wrong. But I don't think they'll put one out this year. That's my bet. Are you taking me on it, yes or no?
Wow. I really don't want to play Zinch ever in my whole life.
Through the TV, you heard it there. I'll play Gits. There we go.
Anyway.
You can just put as many trogs in there as you want. I'll have the worst time ever. Fucking 2 trog bosses. I'm like, what does this do? All right. Nothing. Amazing. All right. So I don't think there'll be one out this year, is what I'm trying to say. So.
Really? Wow. That would be terrible.
It's based on no information. It's just based on pure. It's just a fucking guess. It's just a complete guess, but I think I'm right on that one. Yeah.
It's interesting though, right? Because so I've always played Stormcast anyway, but the new books come in. I've moaned for the last 2 years about not wanting to buy a book and only having digital. So it means if there's no app, I have to buy the book, which I already didn't want to do, and then I'm then going to have to not put it in an app because there won't be an app to put it in.
Well, of course, the books. This is the other thing. So the final piece of news is we're still waiting for the release of the Stormcast and also the Uruk Warclans Battle Tome, right? Which is pretty shocking. Did anyone see the 40k roadmap? Hoping we get an Age of Sigmar one soon. Did anyone see the 40k roadmap? James, did you see one?
Get roadmaps.
No. What?
No.
They got a roadmap.
Yeah, but it was
40K got one,
it was 2 codexes they'd already released. one that they'd already said they were bringing out, and then 2 mystery ones in 6 months. That was the roadmap. They were like, these things you know, and in 6 months 2 you don't know anything about. It was useless. It was like the sun will rise tomorrow. Go on.
So
The sun will come
are
on.
there specific dates for the mystery ones, or it's just sometime in the next 6 months?
I think they
we'll
might have
release
specified the
2 more
month.
books?
And that's it.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, I guess that's better than nothing. Oh well,
So
yeah.
we're thinking that
Can't wait
that the
to get
Stormcast
it.
book and the Uruk book will go on pre-order this weekend. So we might finally get a start, right? But to lead into the conversation, which I've smashed that by the way, 55 minutes in. To lead into the conversation, the main subject of the show right now is that we know that the new battle tomes are going to have their own core battalions and their own battle tactics and their own grand strategies. And the reason we know that is because in the White Dwarf supplement that we're about to talk about for megagargants, they already have that. Like, they've got one in a supplement, and the supplement has come out before even a codex has come out, which is quite a fun thing. And so we might get supplemental updates via White Dwarf. There was a lot of young lads at the venue recently, so I'll try and explain it to them. A magazine is how can I explain it properly? A magazine is it's kind of like a book you got at school, but like with pictures a lot and stuff, and is kind of cool. It's a cool book for the young lads at home. I don't know if Mumford's still listening.
I don't know
What
if it is
magazines?
cool anymore, is it? It's like 30 to 50 online articles printed with some pop-ups stuck in the middle.
Very much like a battle tome is like Warhapedia that you've printed out. It's just like it's just like that. Cool book with lots of pictures.
Maybe that's how I'll do events from now on.
That's how you should use it anyway. Grand Lord Batty says, a series of blog posts all glued together. You've got it. So for the kids listening, you've got that now. That's what a magazine is. So now some of the rules are going to come out in magazines. I don't think explaining books to... they'll be like, what? What is this? You're talking about, old man? But we've seen... so let's just talk about that for a minute, because that's kind of the key point to talk about before we actually talk about the Megagargants. And Crazy Horse is saying there, is White Dwarf content match play legal? White Dwarf was not listed on the page in GHP 2021, legal publications, though they were formally FAQ'd. I'm sure that they'll FAQ them in Crazy Horse if anyone decides to. But now the system is, if you don't like them, just comp them out of your event, so it's not an issue anymore. Like, that's like our answer to all things in Age of Sigmar anymore. James doesn't like Khorne. He just comps them out of his event. Can't play them. Not allowed.
Yeah, but
okay.
I like
so what, you're going to give them less points? Only 1,800 points of Khorne allowed. 1,500?
No. If you play Khorne,
more points.
Everyone gets to point at you and say, your god's stupid, and then you carry on and play as normal. It's like organised bullying at its finest. Choose a better god.
So let's talk about this. So Age of Sigmar 3 lands. This is important. They're like, hey, listen, lads. Age of Sigmar 3, you guys are going to love it. We couldn't balance War Scroll battalions. And before I get into this, the core battalions in this aren't anywhere near as strong as a War Scroll battalion. Yet. We couldn't balance, and thanks for Chumphammer for sassing me on Twitter about this. I loved it. We couldn't balance War Scroll Battalion, so we took them out of the game. To, I think, much rejoicing. I don't know if you guys remember how you felt about it, but a few months ago.
Yeah, I think in general, most people are in favour that those battalions have been got rid of. That all the change host and
yeah,
the like.
They did. James, you happy about it or not happy about it when it happened?
About them, I think it was just time, right? I think like some books got 10, some books got 1, some books got good ones, lots of books got loads of rubbish ones. I played Stormcast for years; they were all trash. And I think like because some were narrative, but super strong because of it, and some were narrative and super rubbish because of it. The balance was appalling. So I was just glad. I think like one part of the game having like consistency that was across all armies was good.
I agree. The fact that it was gone, but now they've returned. So I guess Twitch chat, Nathan, YouTube thugs, podcast bros. How do you feel about the return of core battalions in this setup? What are your thoughts and feelings?
Well, they're not core battalions, but they're not. What's the words?
They're core battalions.
Battalions?
They're core battalions. They're faction-specific core battalions.
So you can stack them.
Core battalions. Yeah, I mean, at first I was like, oh no, we're going back to what we had before. But I guess if they're going to keep it so that you still you only get the bonuses, which everybody else gets anyway. So little pictures of fists or hearts and that sort of thing. Then I guess they're just changing the layout that might be different for all individual books. It's only if they start bringing in you're getting extra benefits, then that would be the worry. But if it's just going to be the same benefits that you get anyway from core battalions, then I don't see it being too much.
And what you mean by that is, specifically, when you create a core battalion, you get something. You get like one of the upgrades, basically. So it either becomes a one drop, or you get like the ability to take an additional enhancement or something. Yeah, that's fair. And actually, genuinely looking at the Gargant ones, they don't seem terrible. They seem fine. They're not overpowered. They don't do anything extra, like you say, Nathan. They allow you to build your army a little bit of a slightly different way. So I actually think that that's honestly a positive. I think where it gets interesting is that we have, they also have we'll talk about this in a minute, they have grand strategies and they also have battle tactics. And again, the battle tactics aren't brilliant, nor is the grand strategy, not when Beastmaster's available, which is keep any monster alive, and they're all monsters. I guess the problem is, and again, I'm complimenting them because they're all great. So, like, I'm probably being like a bit of a doomsayer, and I'm not trying to be, but the Stormcast comes out, and if it's got a battle tactic that's just like deep strike, get 2 victory points, you're like, oh, there's not much I can do to stop that. Do you know what I mean? Like in 40k, they have a real problem in that they have faction-specific secondaries, and they're fairly easy to achieve. The other problem is like the knowledge gap, that you don't really know what your opponent's battle tactics or even your grand strategies are, if that makes sense. So like, there's a bit of a gap there. And we're going to be in a world of haves and have-nots. So the new battle terms will come out. These are the only negatives, by the way, because hopefully they'll also add a bunch of flavour and character to the game. So there's also that as well.
So in 40k, you still have to tell your opponent what the plan is before you start to try and do it, though. It's not something you... Yeah. So, Yeah, I guess the individual battle tactics and those with some armies could be an issue, because that's where you can try and deny your opponent, or that's where the points are scored, obviously. So those are very important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if some armies get super easy ones to do, like a whole load of 5 that they can do where they don't even have to engage you, then that could be a bit of a worry. At the moment, everybody's got access to at least 2 or 3 that they can do, but then there's a couple where they actually have to get involved, so they can't keep running away forever.
I agree.
So they're doing their own thing. I
think I also agree with some Norwegian dude in the chat who says Battalions are not terrible, but the strategies will at some point break the game because Games Workshop can't handle that forever, which I sadly agree with. But here's hoping. That's my only, I don't think I love it, because I quite like that we all know. Like, we all know. You can even help your opponent outright. They're like, oh, what battle tactic? Like, oh, just do Savage Spearhead. It's right there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's really collaborative because it's the same shared pool of knowledge. When it becomes very bloated, it becomes very complicated. And again, those core battalions don't do that. And I'm not trying to rain on it. I just don't know what it adds. If I'm honest, I don't like it because I don't think it adds anything that we need. is what I'm trying to say. Just put more flavour on a war scroll. I mean, you can't say you want the game to be like a little bit like more structured out and write the Severith war scroll. Do you know what I mean? You can't genuinely be like, I'd like the game to be a little bit more like streamlined or a little bit like more flavourful and just have whatever the fuck Archaon's war scroll does, which is a billion rules. So anyway, James, you got any thoughts on it? Oh, okay. Tell me. Come on, let's go.
Like I've been sat here listening, and I thought I'd just sit quietly. I am super against it. So there's part of me that's like, they kind of had to put them back in, right? Because otherwise, what am I buying a book for?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Like I'm buying a narrative book. So that's one of the issues I think they kind of gave themselves when they did it. Like one of the big debates that seemed to be happening everywhere was, well, what's in my book now? Some war scrolls. Obviously, they're not on an app anymore, but you know, you could have just brought the cards if you were into that. However, like, I'm just super against it. Like, one, I think at some point it becomes really hard to balance. You either make them good or trash. Some will be good, some will be trash, probably. But I think more than anything else, like, I like, you know, you brought it up, but I like that shared pool. I like the fact I know what my opponent's got choice of. I like the fact they know I've got choice of. I like the fact that they don't need more than one book to know every single one I can do. But I think for me, the other big one is that all the games I've played, and I've played less recently, but obviously when it first started, I did, I don't know, maybe 20 games in. But I think the biggest one is like turn 3, turn 4, and turn 5 are the big turns. Like that's where it all kicks off now. Like turn 1, I'm probably doing run 3 together. Turn 2, I'm probably doing whatever. But like you just said a minute ago, or an hour ago, or wherever we are, like there were some call points where 80 max sorcerer survived on a wound. So if I've got a choice, so I'm like, I kill that sorcerer, he's 13 wounds, he's a 4-up save, he can make it a 3-up, he can re-roll it. Or I can go to my Stormcast book and I can have a wizard cast a spell. Now, obviously I'm making that up, but it could be one. Have a Stormcast wizard pray to Sigmar. 3-up. If it goes off, you get 2 points. Like, if my chances are better, I'm just going to take that one. And I think like part of the excitement of the game for me in all those games I've played is, or has been, like choosing those well, playing those well, watching players skill develop as they learn how to use those better than others. Watching people like, I played a Gargants player, Reese at club, and for his first one, he took the one where you take 2 objectives that aren't in your thing because he knew turn 1 he could just walk onto them, take them off me, and claim them. And I was like, cool, I wouldn't take that one first turn because I could struggle and I probably wouldn't get there, but you can. And then our order slightly changes, but it gets really interesting. I think once you give players, I don't know, let's say they give 6 more in the Stormcast book, instead of having 8 or whatever there is, and knowing that 3 I'm not going to have, but I haven't wrote a list with a monster in, which has happened in most of my games. So I'm like, well, it takes out a couple. Suddenly, I've got a choice of 13, let's say, and my opponent's got a choice of 8. And I think on turns like at least 4 and 5, having all that extra choice is probably going to make it way better for me than my opponent. And that's kind of rubbish. So I just think for me, it takes like balance out of the game fast. And it doesn't matter if they're good or bad, just having extra choices always good.
Oh, so you want more choices?
No. Like, I think that's what makes it bad. Yeah. Like, putting extra choice in for one player and not another, but also, like, long-term, putting, like, 13 choices in for every player means I think there's less risk reward. And I think sometimes you have to be like, right, this turn I kill the general because that monster is still on 18 wounds and a 3-up save. So I've got to kill their general who's weak. So I've got to, like, sacrifice stuff to do that. But then also beat up that monster so that next turn I can take that and blah, blah, blah. And, like, so then you have to play, like, a more tactical, more intense game. And I think that's where the fun
because there's less options. Because there's not that many battle tactics at the moment. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yes. Like, so, and how many can you make? Like, if I'm playing Stormcast, what's it going to be? Keep a Redeemer unit, move a Redeemer unit. Cool. It's my battle line. Or, like, what are my grand strategies? Keep a Redeemer unit alive. Well, okay, doesn't matter because I've already got battle line and it's basically the same thing. Or, keep a Paladin unit alive. And then it's just, like, more choice that I don't need.
I guess so. I think that's a good point. How many battle tactics can they make before they make BT players don't need to interact with their opponents to achieve? Interesting points. Well, let's go. Should we go through them and have the convo and then see how we feel about it at the end? Don't forget also, I think one of the interesting things about this is that we're dealing with an incredibly unique army. This doesn't, I know a lot of people are saying, hey, this obviously, the megagargants couldn't really go into any of the core battalions anyway, but I think we're going to see each battle tome have its own core battalions, it's going to have its own battle tactics, it's going to have its own grand strategies, is what we're going to see. And I think that's going to mean each one. So this is our first tester of it, and we'll see how we feel about it, right? That's the best we can do. So first thing they've got is they've got 2 core battalions. They've got Bosses of the Stomp, bomb, bomb, bomb. Yeah, and then they've got foot sloggers. Yeah, foot sloggers. So if you're a Bosses of the Stomp, you can take. Yeah. You have to take 2 megagargants, and you can take up to 4 megagargants, and that allows you to take either Unified, which is a 1-drop deployment, which is amazing for megagargants, amazing having seen them play at the weekend, or or the Magnificent, which is an extra enhancement in your army. Now, one of the key things about this is how does Sons of Behemat perform, Rob? Great question, thanks for asking. I do the Stats Center. They're doing really well. They genuinely often get into the 4-1 slots. You see them play loads. I know what you're asking. Hey, Rob, how do they work? Okay, well, it's really simple. You start them on the line. You don't do anything else. You have a 2-drop list, or maybe a 1-drop list now, and then you walk onto the objectives. And I know what you're asking. You say, Rob, aren't you going to get charged? And the answer is you are, but it doesn't matter, because that's the only way you can play. You just walk, you stand, and then you fight on the objectives, and that is the end of your strategy. It is brilliant. If you're a new player, you're going to have the most fun. It's so good. It's just like, I'm going first. Okay, what are you going to do? I'm going to walk on these objectives. You're like, fucking big thumb. And it's like, what now? It's like, come and kill me if you want. That's it. And it's like, and then you don't move. You just fight on that objective. You count as 40 models, or 30 models, sorry. And then that's the end of the game. It's like, you probably don't have to move again, if I'm honest. Don't have to pile in. Don't have to do anything. You just got to roll 10 dice every, your opponent takes another 30 minutes for their turn, moving everything around, and you just, you occasionally need to shout all-out defense as well. Thank you, Dodgers Martin. That's also, and sometimes try and heroically heal. But it's just so good, so good. So having it as a 1-drop is great, and then Foot Sloggers is an optional Mega Gargant, which is interesting, and then it's 2 Man Crushers which are necessary for it, or you can have an optional Mega Gargant as well. Yeah, so it's 2 Man Crushers definitely, and then either an additional plus an additional Man Crusher, and or plus an additional Mega Gargant. And that gets you 1-drop, so that gets you Unified, which is a 1-drop, and it also gets you Swift, which is once per battle, you can receive an all-out move. So that's that 6-inch move instead of rolling dice to run, which is also brilliant if you just want to walk onto an objective and stand there for 5 turns. The Hobby Room says, my only game of AOS3 was against Sons of Behemat. It was fun thanks to the opponent, but the game was just bleh. It was just a fight and no tactics. I mean, that's kind of fun though, right? Two treasures this weekend. Ironside, a big shout out to you, love you forever, was playing against Nige with his Gargants, and it was just a Gargant off, yeah? And it was just, they didn't move. I came back an hour and a half later, and I was like, what's happened? And they were like, oh, we're just still fighting on this objective. It was great. It was amazing. They didn't, they were so chill. I was like, do you guys want a drink? They were like, nah, I'm alright, Rob. Fucking easiest day I've ever had. Just roll a couple of dice, your turn. It's have you ever seen that Aussie Man reviews where he's like, nah, fuck you, nah, fuck you, nah, fuck you with the punching? It's just that.
Yeah.
I can't
Oh,
imagine
I
it's
can
a.
imagine.
I can't imagine a more fun way to play Warhammer. I mean, I can imagine a more fun way to play against someone with Warhammer, but not that. Have you played against them, James, Nathan?
No, I've not played against Suns yet. But yeah, it does sound like they just move on to objectives. How do they cope with battle tactics then? Because
Okay,
sometimes you
so turn one, you run them. For
things.
turn one, you run them, and you've done them all with monsters, so that's 3, right? That's 3 battle tactics.
Yeah.
Turn 2,
Yeah.
you're doing monstrous takeover because you're on an objective. Yeah. Then turn 3, do what you like. Try and kill a battle line, sure. Try and kill the general, sure. Try and kill a monster, sure. Do any of those. Like, you're laughing. I mean, if turn one... I mean, they could just do aggressive expansion turn 1 as well. Yeah, and then they can do ferocious advance, which is a running one later on if they wanted to. There's so many options. There's so many options about how they run forward. So it's a good one. So many options.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's really good.
This came from the Priority Roll podcast. That's nice. Big shout out to Priority Roll. Oh, that can't be why they've stopped, can it? No. Did they leak this? No. Anyway, well, it says this image I've got on WhatsApp from the Priority Roll podcast. It says it there on the screen. Can you guys see? It says there. Did they leak it? No. I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure it didn't. Anyway, but are they watermarking taking photos? That seems weird. Or is White Dwarf advertising that podcast? Does anyone know?
Maybe.
No idea.
Is it God, I don't know. A screenshot from their.
Yeah, it might be a
Video?
screenshot.
Did they do
the
the
video on
videos?
it? Maybe they did that. It's not leaked.
No.
I have my White Dwarf with them in already. Oh, okay. Well then, never mind. Don't know why that's on there. That's interesting. It's on there, but it's not on the next one. So weird. Anyway, so Express Metal says I played against them last night and they were kicking objectives towards my unit so they could carry on stomping my stuff. They can also do that. Sorry, I forgot they could also do that. You can also do that. Right, okay. So the battalions seem fine though, right? The battalions are not scary. They're not chain chose. They're not Trog Herd. They're not the Skitterstrand one, whatever that was.
That was the scariest
Scuttling.
one.
Yeah. The but being able to take Unified is quite good for them, isn't it? If they can do a 1-drop, because the lower drops, the better for them, isn't it? Especially if they're playing against another Sons of Behemat, because this is the first one that gets on the objectives.
Yeah.
It's got the advantage.
100%. Because they're already taking the Amulet of Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Always. So they've already got a 5 ward on one of their guys. They're already probably in Taker Tribe. So they've got more wounds. So I think being a 1-drop's fantastic. And you really have got to ask yourself, there are so many Mega Gargant armies out there. So many. You have to ask yourself, how am I going to kill them? Just say to yourself, how do I kill 40 wounds with a 3-up save, with a 5-up ward in 2 turns? And if I can't, I lose. That has to be your question you have to ask yourself. And they're not. It doesn't even matter about them hitting you back because they're rubbish in a fight. So they're fine in a fight, but they're not whatever. Kragnos is not the one, I would say. But anyway, right. So grand strategies.
Poor Kraken.
What does he had a few bashes at them over the weekend and failed?
Yeah, because basically what you're saying with Kragnos is you're like, these 2d6 win or lose me the game. And I know that's true in a lot of situations, right? There's a lot of situations where 2d6 wins you or win or loses you the game. But this is like, you build that into your army list. You're like, okay, if I come against megagargants, I need to charge Kragnos. And then I need to roll quite high on these 2 6s. End conversation. Nothing else you can do.
But soon he can just have some Bolt Boys behind him and they'll do all the work.
I mean, why not just have more Bolt Boys instead of him ever, James? Yeah.
Well, that's true.
So,
but you know.
Right. So the grand strategies are Sons of Behemat army only. It's called Stomping Order. Make the land tremble. As a stomp of Gargants charges into battle, the reverberation caused caused has been known to bring about an avalanche. Oh my god! About avalanches and earthquakes, much to the amusement of Behemat's children. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if any friendly units made a run or charge move in every battle round. It does not have to be the same one. Okay, so that one's not good. So that's it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I mean, they've obviously got ones already in the core ones that are just obvious in that, like keeping a monster alive. So you kind of feel like if you've lost all of your dudes, you've sort of lost the game anyway. And they're unlikely to be running and charging around the place if they just stood on objectives defending them. So, in the middle of the game, they're all going to be tied up in combat. So yeah, that one seems
it was
to
the only
suck.
one, so we're out. And then the next one, so you're just going to take Beastmaster.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're just going to
there's
take Beastmaster.
better ones in the core.
Right, so then battle tactics is rampaging Gargants. Sons of Behemat army only is a terrible grand strategy. It is. So that's not bad. We're happy with that. We're happy with all of these being terrible. That's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for them to be useless so we never have to think about them again. Looking at you, Trogherd. Or whatever the sub-faction is that makes Karak Acolytes good. No one knows. Yeah. No one knows that one.
Wonderful.
What's it called, James? Witchfire Coven?
No idea.
Witchfire Coven? No,
Guild of
Summoners
Summoners
is where you
that the
get...
one?
First time you get 9 fate points, you can get a lot of change. Come on, James. Come on. Same,
I
baby.
only play pink
Same.
horrors.
And it's brilliant. You and me should play... do you want a game of Warhammer? My 50 pink horrors versus your 50. And it will take 8 weeks.
Oh, I found 10 more the other day. I got 60.
Such a good list. Right, anyway, Rampaging Gargants, right, is, so these are the battle tactics. Okay, time to get serious. These are the battle tactics. These are worth points. Kraken eater megagargants, so this one's called That's Mine, are fiercely territorial and they won't surrender anything they consider to be their loot without a fight. Pick one objective on the battlefield wholly outside your territory, okay? You complete this tactic if that objective marker is kicked away and is wholly within your territory at the end of this turn. Okay. So, what do you make of that, Mr. Prescott?
I can't remember the exact.
Be within
mechanics
3
of how they
inches.
kick
Be within
things,
3
those lads.
inches. Roll 2d6, and then however far that gets you, you go. Can't re-roll it. Or you can.
Right.
There is an upgrade. There is an upgrade where you
no
can kick
test.
it 3d6. I don't know if it's a command trainer artifact.
Okay. Yeah. But there's no test. You just kick it as long as you're within 3. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a battle tactic. It's not particularly easy to do. So it's got to be outside of your territory, and you've got to be able to kick it straight into your territory, and you've got to be within 3 of it. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. So I'm not that bothered about it.
It's
to be honest.
not good at all. It's not good at all, which is great because you're potentially giving up 2 VP, just hoping that 2d6 roll is going to go your way. So, so I'm really against that. So no, they're terrible. Which is James. This is great news that they're bad. Great news.
But it is, but it's still an option, right? So there's nothing to stop me kicking it in like turns 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's like set up for that, is that? Or do I have to kick it?
No, it's not like a penalty. It's not like
2d6
one
overall.
shot you got to go. You can do a pass. You can do a kick and then another kick. But what if you kick too far? Like...
Yeah, that's what I mean. So if I kick it and I roll a 12, do I have to move it the 12 or can I move
no,
it
you have
3?
to move it the full amount. Yeah.
Oh, okay, then it's rubbish. That's fine. In my head, I was just like, or if I can just like tap it. Like
Heinrad's had an amazing idea. Kick one out of your territory one turn, and then kick it back the turn after.
Yeah, it's a good plan. I think because it's 2d6. Like if you kick it out by 4, you're probably in a good stead. If you kick it out like
Well,
by 11,
if you're kicking it out, you just kick it out by 1, and then
You can't choose. You just got to
goes
kick
down.
it
you
the
can't
max
choose,
amount.
can you?
Yeah, but you kick it
Oh,
sideways.
I see what you're saying. You do a bit of a. What's that bowling? You know when you fucking do a googly.
7
Left arm
Chinaman
Chinaman. Yeah.
can't be
Googly.
okay to
That's
say
fine.
on TV. That can't be right.
It's a ball that you
Definitely
bowl.
that could be
That's
bleeped
not-
out.
Bowling.
I don't know what that means. I'm not
Google it.
googling. I'm not
Google it.
googling. All right,
It's
fine.
a
I'm
type
going to
of
Google it.
bowling style.
All right. We apologise to
We
everyone
apologise
that
to
we're
anyone watching the stream. The opinions of Nathan Prescott are not the opinions of the stream.
okay. It's called. If he possesses a googly, the ball is supposed to leave the right-hander and come into the left-hander. Why Chinaman? Question mark. The term is traditionally believed to have originated with the former West Indian spinner Ellis Akong back in 1933. England hosted Wales in West Indies, so it's to do with the fact that Ellis Akong was Chinese, and that's why. So
No, it's West Indian. That just shows how weird
okay.
cricket was
All
at
right.
them days. Anyway, there you go.
Okay, fine. Like this is it's like a dog throwing his own ball. That's what I guess. All right, let's see. At no point do I want anyone to do that battle tactic and say I'm doing whatever Nathan said. Right, next up. I don't.
I kind
Next
of
up,
want
the
now.
Wrecking Cave.
But
Go on.
yeah. Yeah, it's a style of burning. It used to be like left arm wrist spinner or something. Anyway.
Wrecking Crew. So some Gargants become thoroughly incensed at the sight of enemy fortifications, making a point of smashing them to rubble. You complete this tactic if a faction terrain feature in your opponent's army is demolished this turn. Hey, that's a great one. Is it a 2-up?
Yeah. Yeah, that one's
A 2-up to destroy
Yeah.
terrain with a gatebreaker. Yeah, it's smash down,
with
isn't
a
it?
Gatebreaker. Yeah, well, you can just do it. So it's called Smashdown. Pick a terrain feature within 3 of the model. Roll the dice. If the roll is equal to or greater than the Smashdown value on the damage table, it's reduced to. So it starts off as a 2-up, and then as he takes wounds, it goes up to a 6-up. But I guess you can also destroy it using your.
Yeah, you got 2 chances, right?
Yeah, using the rules for
Oh, so you
monstrous
can do it
reaction.
either way.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be done with a smashdown. It can be done by. Where's my? Oh, it's downstairs. My handbook. Yeah, one of the monstrous reactions. I don't know. You just have to. That's at the end of
Charge
the
phase.
charge phase. Yeah, or beginning of the combat
Pretty sure it's
phase.
End of the
I
charge.
can't remember the exact mechanics for that.
Okay,
one.
well, either way, that one seems pretty good. That one seems pretty good if you're playing OC Arcs for some reason. I mean, you would have to move past the territory, or back past the objectives on towards some faction terrain to actually smash it down, and you're probably not doing that ever
Yeah.
because you just stick in those
Yeah.
6-inch circles. Honestly, the megagargants look like they're like going to a disco rink. They just turn up to those 6-inch circles and they just skate around them, just having the best time, like it's a dance floor. I really want to see some painted up like Earth, Wind and Fire. It'll look great, is what I'm saying. But that one's fine if you can attempt to achieve it, right? Like, it's not good, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It gives you another option though. Like that was my point earlier, I think. Like it gives them like, even if you're playing against someone where the faction terrain doesn't matter, like it gives you an option late game to run across, like, and just smack that corner
Yeah,
or at the
fair
end
enough.
of the game.
Fair enough. I think, like
Yeah.
Eric Sorman says, your Gatebreaker is going to be doing actual work, fighting on it. Like, he's the scary one in your list anyway. So he's probably going to be fighting, so. And then finally, Man Skittles. Man Skittles is a common Gargan game, even in battle. Nathan, you're going to love this. Played by hurling an unlucky enemy into a block of their comrades to see how many can be sent sprawling. Thumbs. You complete this tactic if a friendly War Stomper Mega Gargant uses its hurled body ability. The enemy model you pick for the first part of this ability is slain, and an enemy battle line unit is picked as a target for the second part of this ability and suffers any mortal wounds as a result. So it requires a 4+, right?
Yeah, so when you pick up something, you roll a dice, and it's got to be at least double their wounds characteristic. So yeah, if you're picking up a 1 wound dude, obviously
Yep.
you want to be rolling a 2, and then once you've thrown it, it's on a 4+. It does the mortal wounds. So you've got to So obviously rolling a 4+ is one of the most difficult things in
Very,
Warhammer,
very
I
hard,
think.
right?
So yeah, that one's a bit dodgy. That one, but I guess if there's no other options, then that's what you go for. But yeah, that's one of the ones that you is like a Hail Mary.
I think that one's probably the worst one.
Yeah, it is.
Because I think like you're only going to use it at the end of a game because it's super risky. And actually, what's the chance of them having a unit you want to throw and a battle line unit all set up, and then you'd be like, oh, cool, I'm going to risk this for a biscuit and then not roll a 4-up. Oh.
So, like, ultimately, yeah, it's not very good. It's a 4-up, right? Like, I don't think it's good at all. So my point is I think that they're fine. All the doom and gloom at the start of the show is that, like, if anything, all the battle tactics are worse. The grand strategy is worse than what's available. I don't think they're even good options, which I think is fun. I mean, they're, like, flashy options. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you wanted to, like, be flashy and just be like, turn 5 to win the tournament, you're on the top table, you're the Mega Gargant player, and they're like, right, okay, you could just do Monsters Takeover on this one and you could win. And he goes, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw this at that battle line unit, and that's how I'm going to win. I mean, that's cool. That's cool that you've got the options to showboat a little bit. I love that. That's really fun. Or kick this objective, but you need like an 11, and you choose it instead of something that's much easier to achieve. That's fun. I love that. I'm into that. I'm into some showboating. That works really well. Yeah, there's some BDE right there. But they're not very good. So they're not very effective, is what I'm trying to say. And they're not very reliable. And games are all about reliability. Especially because the battle tactics you probably want to choose if you have an army of monsters anyway are the battle tactics that you get additional points for doing with monsters. You already have an army of monsters, so you're going to want to do the ones that score you more monster points. So I doubt we'll see almost any of them, which I think is interesting. The only one that probably is effective is the core battalion thing. That's all that's in there. And that's cool. And the core battalion thing's cool. Like, you know, like gives them a 1-drop, gives them access to an extra artifact. I got no problems with any of that. So ultimately, it seems great. I don't like that it's in White Dwarf because I have to teach the Zoomers what a magazine is. But other than that, it's a fine time. Like, I don't hate any of it. And I'd almost say, well, I mean, it has zero effect on me at all. So I don't care, is what I'm probably going to think. Apart from when I play that triple artifact Gargant list. And I'm like, because you know what the third artifact's going to be. Do you guys...
Make them a wizard.
Glowy Lantern's the second artifact. This is how it works, right? First one, Amulet of Destiny. Second one, Glowy Lantern. But the third one is Kraken Eater Sandals, right? And to lose to a Gargant with fancy sandals is my idea of actual hell.
Is it because they're basically wearing
Croc Eater sandals, right? And also, like the hobby room says, like rules being in White Dwarf, what does that mean? I've got to take that with me to a tournament? Like, I can't get it in the app, you know. Like, but that's a digital conversation anyway, right?
Do we think?
Yeah.
So here's a question, and obviously no one has the answer. Are all White Dwarfs free if you buy Warhammer Plus?
It's a White Dwarf is separate to Plus.
Oh, rubbish. But you get old White Dwarfs.
You get digital things in Plus. I'm not sure what. You just all I know about Plus is you get phenomenal paint tutorials. That's it. Don't know anything else. Like, I don't know what else they're doing. What else is in plus?
TV. Netflix not good.
What are you
Not
trying to
as
say,
good as
James?
Netflix.
What words are you trying to get out of your mouth?
Well, did anyone? So lockdown 1 happened. Here's my point. Here's a point that throws me.
Jesus.
So lockdown
Okay.
1 happened, right? And as if by magic, in lockdown 1, some idiot started doing a show every day, but that wasn't important because also Disney released Disney Plus.
Did
And I brought it. So I brought it for lockdown 1. And you'd think, oh, Disney, huge, loads of content. And I got the app, paid for the year, and I was like, this is not that much content. And obviously, since they realised that and acquired a million things and added a million things to it, but I think it's quite interesting. Like, how does Games Workshop, who didn't release an app when they said they were going to release an app, churn out enough other content, like
James
on my TV?
James, it's about the painting tutorials, James. That's what we're there for. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're just there for those.
Okay, we're just
not
there for
anything
those.
else. Just the hot girl
Okay.
with the painting tutorial is all we're there for, right? Like.
That is a terrible, terrible description. The very
Of
talented
clickbait.
painter
Yeah,
should be who we're there for, however they look.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the future. I don't know what the future of our rules being in White Dwarf and on paper and stuff is going to be. I imagine it'll be mental. And won't be very well thought out, but that's okay. We're a really smart community. We'll work it out ourselves. We'll make our own apps. We'll put our own stuff on the internet. We're really clever as a group. Yeah, individually, me, no, not that clever. But us as a group, we're just the best, right? Like, and we'll smash it and we'll work it out. Like, so it'll be fine. I don't think it'll be much of a stress, right? Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
No stressing. Yeah, we
No
got it. We're a
stressing.
clever group, so we'll be fine. So ultimately, actually, again, end of an Age of Sigmar 3 show, everything's fucking great.
Everything is awesome.
Everything's
like,
peachy.
Like,
Yep.
the game's wicked. The balance is fucked, but who cares? Like, when has it ever not been? The game's great. The battle tactics are fun. The models are sweet. The lore's probably great. Like, fucking, do either of you two want to play Warhammer this week? Because I'm keen, is what I'm saying.
Always. We
Yeah, I'd love to.
we're getting an app that we can pay for
We
that
do.
does painting
We
tutorials.
do. I'm sure we're doing other things as well, right? Like AD says, AOS 3 is ace, the rulebooks are shit. But, like, that's fine. That's always been the case. Like, it doesn't matter. Just get off book, and it'll be fine. It's really good. It's super fucking fun, man, the game. Because it's dumb. Like, you're just like, the battle tactics are great. Watching someone fail a battle tactic is like manna from heaven, is what it is. Like, the fucking erection I get on my nipples when someone fails a battle tactic is amazing. They're like, so yeah, they're like writing on their score sheet, they're like, I didn't score my battle tactic. I'm like, no, you didn't. Say it again, you little bitch. You didn't do it, did you? And they're like, no. No,
You've been
but
playing
I want to
Nathan
play
again,
him.
being me.
I'm gonna take Kairos just so when he's like, I'm gonna do this thing, and fucking turn his charge off. Not for the whole game, just for the one battle tactic. It's wicked fun. I'm super keen. I think it's so good. So that's my takeaway. Have you guys got any takeaways from this week? James, you're gonna be playing. I can't wait for Salty James though next Monday, Nathan, when he's had his dick kicked in by all the fucking pro gamers. Yeah. Just remember, James, they probably don't know any of their rules.
That's fine.
And if you want to be, the net is fucked. Anyway,
Does it
Oh, we're back.
does it rely on our internet a little bit? No,
maybe I don't know.
because if it does, then yeah, it's probably the internet from the south is terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I just upgraded mine, so my internet is lovely.
Yeah, the internet broke twice.
Oh, we're back.
The internet only breaks on the Monday show now, which is great. The show people tune in
We
for.
know we're back, right?
Yeah, I know we're back. We're just chatting. Come on, let's end the show. It's been a lovely time talking with you guys. thank you. Tune in again next week. We're going to have a lovely time. Maybe down about no, maybe not. If not, we'll ask him instead of 5 minutes before the show goes live. Is what we'll do. Nathan.
Do you know what we should also do?
No. What?
I think at some point this week, if anyone in the chat, I don't know how many people are left, or anyone that listens back knows how to record my voice and auto-tune the crap out of it, I'll make an official Nathan tune. Like every week, if they can be asked to do it.
Oh my god! As the intro, yes, I'm in for that. Yeah, I could do that anyway. And also, quick one: if anyone wants, Lee Bromley's getting a ticket. If any of you want to come to the, we've got an event on Saturday. We've got a couple of tickets left. So I know this is obviously hilarious because loads of people from all around the world are like, Rob, I can't come. Like, I'm literally in another country. But if anyone happens to be local to Nottingham and wants to come to our Age of Sigmar event this Saturday, then tickets are available. Yeah, and fucking we'll have a great time. So we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Nath. Thanks, James. See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.